Okay, so hi Reddit. This is my first time posting something like this, and if it sounds rambling, sorry. I'm still kind of shaky. I don't know if this belongs in r slash no sleep or r slash true off my chest or whatever, but I just need to write it out. My family, mom, dad, my little brother Evan, and me, I'm 16, he's 12, took a vacation to Phoenix, Arizona last week. The plan was supposed to be super normal. A rental car, 2 nights in an Airbnb, hiking Camelback Mountain, maybe a day trip to Sedona. My mom even made one of those Pinterest boards with matching color-coded outfits for cute vacation photos. Cringe, but whatever. We live in Ohio, so the flight was already a mess. Spirit Airlines, 6 a.m., everyone cranky. My dad kept making dumb jokes about how we'd melt in the desert heat. By the time we landed, I just wanted to pass out. The Airbnb was where things started getting weird. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like the pictures. Online, it looked modern. White walls, trendy decor. In reality, beige everywhere. Faint smell of cigarettes. Weird, dusty, fake plants. The backyard oasis pool was murky, like someone had dumped Gatorade in it. Mom pretended it was fine, like it's just for sleeping, we'll be out exploring anyway. But I swear the host left in such a hurry. Like, some drawers in the kitchen still had silverware wrapped in napkins. And there was an Arizona iced tea can sitting half empty on the counter. Who does that if you're prepping a rental? That night, we went out for Mexican food. Barrio Cafe, honestly really good. Came back stuffed and tried to go to sleep. The AC rattled like a freight train. Evan was whining he couldn't breathe, and Dad snored through the whole thing. Around 2 a.m., I woke up. Not because of the AC, but because I heard voices. Low, muffled, coming from the living room. I thought maybe Dad had gotten up to watch TV, but when I peeked out, the TV was off. The voices weren't English either. Couldn't place it. I crept a little closer, heart pounding. The sound was definitely inside the house. And then I saw it. Through the crack of the living room door, there was a man sitting on our Airbnb's couch. Not my dad, not anyone I knew.
I froze, literally couldn't move. My brain was trying to compute what I was looking at. Some random guy sitting on our Airbnb couch at 2 in the morning, like it was his living room. He wasn't looking at me. He was hunched forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. Hoodie pulled up, dirty sneakers, dark jeans. He looked damp, like he'd been sweating or came in from the rain, except, desert. I started to back up, slow. Like maybe if I got to my parents' room and shut the door, this would all go away. That's when he spoke. Not to me, to someone else. He muttered something in a language I didn't recognize. Sounded kind of like Spanish, but not. More guttural, rougher. A second voice answered, also low and muffled, except there was no one else there. I bolted to my parents' room and shook Evan awake, whisper yelling like a lunatic, "Mom, there's somebody in the house." She mumbled something about me having a nightmare, but when she saw my face, she sat up fast. Dad finally stirred, cranky. "What the hell's going on?" I blurted out the whole thing, and at first he rolled his eyes until we all heard the voice. A man's voice coming from the living room, clear as day. Dad got up, grabbed his phone like it was a weapon, and stomped out there muttering, probably just the TV. We followed behind him. Living room? Empty. Couch? Empty. TV off. Door locked. No sign of the guy. Mom was clutching Evan like a life preserver. Dad tried to play it off, probably some drunk wandered in, left before we got out here. But the front door was still locked. Deadbolt still turned. We spent the rest of the night huddled in the bedroom. Nobody slept. Around 4 a.m., I finally passed out. When we woke up at 7, the Airbnb looked the same, except on the kitchen counter, next to that half-empty Arizona iced tea, there was a new can. Same brand, different flavor, still cold, and none of us put it there. By morning, everyone looked wrecked. Mom had that pretend everything's fine voice she uses when she's 1 second away from crying. Dad kept pacing the kitchen, opening and closing cabinets, like maybe the guy from last night was hiding in there. Evan just sat at the counter eating dry Cheerios out of the box, eyes huge. Me? I was staring at that damn Arizona tea can. Still cold, condensation beading down the side. None of us bought it, none of us put it there. I finally said what we were all thinking. We need to get out of here. Mom agreed right away, started Googling hotels in Phoenix on her phone. Dad, of course, went full dad mode. We paid for 2 nights, and I'm not letting some weird local ruin our trip. He suggested we stick it out and just spend all day outside. Like being in the Airbnb less would solve the fact that a random person had been sitting on the couch at 2 a.m. Mom overruled him. We started packing. Except when we tried to leave, the rental car wouldn't start. Like totally dead. Not a click, not a sputter, nothing. And yeah, I know rental cars aren't perfect, but this thing had worked fine yesterday. Dad popped the hood like he had any clue what he was doing. Spoiler, he didn't. So we called the rental company. They said they'd send someone within 3 to 4 hours. My mom just about lost it. We can't stay here for 4 more hours. We tried Uber. No cars available in the area. Lyft? Same. Even the Airbnb host wasn't answering messages. By then, it was pushing noon. Desert sun blazing, house somehow hotter, even with the AC clanking. Dad said, screw it, we just wait it out. He plopped on the couch, scrolling ESPN like nothing was wrong. That's when Evan came into the room holding something. A drawing. Crumpled piece of paper, like notebook paper. He swore he found it under his pillow. It was a sketch of 4 stick figures, 2 tall, 2 small, holding hands. A family. But the faces were blacked out. And under it, scrawled in messy block letters, "Stay." We should have just walked, honestly. Called the cab company, begged for a ride, something. But Dad kept insisting we'd be fine until the rental company sent a tow. Mom tried to argue, but it was like talking to a brick wall. So, yeah, we ended up staying a second night. That evening, we drove ourselves stir-crazy trying to kill time. Mom dragged us out to a shopping plaza just to be around people. We wandered Target for an hour. Evan begged for Hot Wheels, I sulked through the aisles. Dad bought trail mix like it was some kind of survival ration. When we got back, the Airbnb felt worse. The air was heavy, thick. The smell of cigarettes was stronger, even though nobody smoked. Mom lit one of those cheap lavender candles from Target and snapped, "See, problem solved." Except it wasn't. We locked every door, double-checked the windows, pulled the blinds tight. Dad even dragged one of the kitchen chairs to wedge under the front doorknob like we were in some cheesy horror movie. Still, around midnight, I woke up again. The sound came first.
Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, moving across the tile floor of the kitchen. I thought maybe Dad had gotten up for water, so I crept out to check. Kitchen was dark, no one there. But the trail mix bag was open on the counter, pieces spilled out. I backed toward the hallway, heart hammering, when I noticed the living room blinds. They were swaying, just slightly, like someone had brushed past them. I wanted to scream, but I knew if I did, Evan would wake up and freak out. Instead, I ran to my parents' room. Bursting in, whispery yelling again, "It's in the house! It's in the house!" Mom snapped awake immediately, but Dad groaned, "Enough with the nightmares." Then, as if the universe wanted to prove me right, we all heard it. A door closing somewhere inside the house. This time, Dad didn't roll his eyes. He grabbed his phone flashlight, muttering curses under his breath, and stepped into the hall. We followed, huddled behind him. The living room looked normal, except for one thing. On the wall above the couch, someone had written in big, jagged letters with a black marker, "You can't leave."
Nobody talked for a full minute. We just stood there, staring at those words scrawled across the Airbnb wall. "You can't leave." Mom whispered, "We're going. Now." Her voice was this tight, shaky thing that made me more scared than if she'd screamed. Dad didn't argue this time. He grabbed his backpack and shoved his phone charger inside like that would save us. Evan was crying, saying he didn't want to stay, didn't want to go, just rocking back and forth like a little kid. We all crammed into the dead rental car anyway, like maybe it would magically start this time. Dad turned the key over and over. Nothing but silence. My skin felt like it was buzzing. I kept glancing at the house, terrified someone was watching from the windows. Finally, Mom snapped, "We're going. I don't care if it's midnight." So we did. We grabbed our stuff, left the car, and just started down the street. Phoenix suburbs at night are weird. Too quiet. Big houses, desert landscaping, those fake-looking palm trees, streetlights buzzing, but not a single car passed us. We'd been walking maybe 5 minutes when Evan tugged my sleeve. His voice was barely a whisper. "They're following us." I turned around. At first, I didn't see anything. Then I noticed the shadows. A group of figures, 4, maybe 5, way back down the street. Not close enough to see faces, just silhouettes, walking slow, deliberate, same pace as us. Mom saw them too. She hissed at Dad, "Call someone, call 911." Dad did, but when he lifted the phone to his ear, he froze. Then he lowered it, staring at the screen. No signal. And it wasn't just him. I checked mine too. Full battery, but no service. We picked up the pace, practically jogging now, but every time I glanced back, the shadows were still there. Same distance, same slow, steady walk. Finally, up ahead, we spotted a Circle K gas station. Neon lights buzzing, parking lot empty. It felt like salvation. We sprinted across the lot, safe. But the cashier just stood there behind the counter, staring at us with this blank, frozen smile. And behind him, taped to the refrigerator door, was a piece of paper. 4 stick figures, faces blacked out. Our family.
The second I saw that drawing taped to the fridge, my legs almost gave out. Same stick figures as the one Evan found under his pillow, only now the lines were darker, shakier. And it wasn't just their faces blacked out this time. Someone had scribbled the word mine underneath in thick marker. Mom whispered, "What the hell is this?" loud enough for the cashier to hear. He just kept smiling, not moving, not blinking, like he'd been waiting for us. Dad tried to keep it together, put his arm out like he was protecting us, cleared his throat and asked, "Hey, can we use your phone? Our car broke down." No answer, just that smile. I swear he didn't even breathe. Then Evan, being 12 and way too blunt, muttered, "He's not real." The cashier's smile twitched, not wider, not smaller, just glitched like a bad video freeze frame. That's when we noticed the humming. It wasn't the fluorescent lights, it was deeper, lower, coming from the back room, like a generator or a voice. Mom grabbed my hand and whispered, "We're leaving." We started backing toward the door, but then the cashier finally spoke. In that same guttural, not quite Spanish voice I'd heard in the Airbnb, he said, "Stay." And every single cooler door in the gas station slammed shut at the same time. The sound was so loud Evan screamed. Dad shoved us all toward the exit, practically tackling the glass door open. We spilled out into the parking lot, gasping like we'd been underwater. The street was empty. No cars, no people, no sign of the shadows that had followed us. We didn't even try for subtlety this time. We just ran, sprinting down the sidewalk, backpacks bouncing, lungs burning. After what felt like forever, we finally saw headlights. A dusty old Toyota pulled up alongside us, window rolling down. Some middle-aged guy in a baseball cap leaned out. "You folks lost?" he asked, all casual, like we didn't look insane. Mom practically sobbed, "Please, just take us anywhere safe." He nodded slowly. "Sure, hop in." But when I looked at his dashboard, there was an Arizona iced tea can in the cup holder.
We hesitated for half a second. The night air felt like it was pressing on my skin. The shadows from before were gone, but the road behind us was just empty desert and flickering streetlights. Mom didn't even think. She yanked Evan toward the car. Dad went after her, muttering, "We don't have a choice." I stood there staring at that stupid Arizona iced tea can in the guy's cup holder. Ice cold, beads of condensation. Same brand, same flavor as the one from the Airbnb. The driver smiled like it was nothing. "Where are you headed?" I got in last, sliding into the back seat next to Evan. The interior smelled like dust and something sweet, like old air freshener. There were crumpled Circle K receipts on the floor. Mom said, "Nearest police station," her voice shaky but firm. "Sure thing," the guy said. "It's not far." He pulled away from the curb, no radio on, no GPS, just driving. The car's dashboard clock read 12:07 a.m. and didn't change the entire ride. At first, we were all too tired to talk. The road stretched ahead, endless streetlights, then stretches of pitch black. I checked my phone, still no service. Then, Evan whispered, "He's not going the right way." Mom sat up straighter. "Excuse me, where's the police station?" The driver chuckled softly. "Almost there." I craned my neck to look out the window. We weren't in Phoenix anymore. The streets had faded into empty desert highway. No buildings, no signs, just cactus silhouettes under the moon. Dad snapped, "Pull over, right now!" The driver didn't even blink. "You asked for somewhere safe. We're almost there."
Then his dashboard flickered. For a second, the clock flashed "Stay" instead of the time. My heart just about stopped. Dad reached forward, grabbing for the steering wheel. The guy's hand shot out, pale and too long, and caught Dad's wrist with a grip that made Dad gasp. "Don't," the driver said. His voice wasn't normal anymore. It was that same guttural, overlapping sound we'd heard in the house and at the gas station. Evan started crying. Mom whispered a prayer. The driver's eyes flicked up to the rearview mirror. They weren't brown anymore, just black. And the road ahead? It ended in a dead stop. Nothing but desert sand.
Dad yanked his wrist free, shouting, "Stop the car!" But the driver didn't slow down. The headlights lit up nothing but dirt and cactus, the asphalt just gone, like the road had been cut clean off. Mom screamed, Evan covered his face, and I braced for the crash. Except we didn't crash. The car rolled smoothly forward, like the dirt had turned back into pavement under the tires. Outside, the desert blurred. The cacti looked wrong, too tall, bent at impossible angles. And the moon? It wasn't moving, just hung there, huge and low, like it was watching us. Dad fumbled with the door handle. It wouldn't open. I tried mine too, locked. Not child lock either, like sealed shut. "Where are you taking us?" Mom demanded, her voice breaking. The driver smiled in the rearview mirror, teeth too white, too straight. "You said safe. We're almost there." I wanted to scream at him, hit him, anything, but I couldn't move. My chest felt heavy, like the air was syrup. Evan clutched my arm so hard his nails dug in. Then I noticed something on the inside of the windows. Words. Foggy letters, like someone had breathed on the glass and written with their finger. On my side, it said E-L-I. On Evan's, E-V-A-N. I leaned forward. The front passenger window said Mom. And on the driver's side, Dad. Our names, all of them. Dad saw it too. He lost it, started pounding on the glass, shouting at the driver to stop. The man didn't flinch. He just kept driving, humming under his breath, the same guttural knot language as before. Finally, Mom lunged forward, grabbed the wheel, and jerked it hard to the right. The car swerved, tires screeched, and then silence. When I opened my eyes, we weren't in the desert anymore. We were back in the Airbnb living room, sitting on the same beige couch, our luggage stacked neatly by the door. The driver was gone, but on the coffee table sat 4 cans of Arizona iced tea, 4 flavors, 4 straws, ice cold, and on the wall above the couch, written in fresh marker, "Welcome home." Nobody moved. We just sat there, staring at those 4 Arizona cans lined up like some sick offering. Dad was the first to break. He jumped up, grabbed the nearest suitcase, and shouted, "We're leaving now!" His voice cracked in a way I'd never heard before. Mom grabbed Evan's hand, yanked me off the couch, and we all bolted for the door. Dad flung it open. Bright sunlight hit us in the face. Arizona heat, dry and sharp. For a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, we'd escaped. Except when we stepped outside, it wasn't the street. It was the desert road again. The same one the driver had taken us down. No houses, no Circle K, no city skyline.
just endless dirt and cactus shadows. Mom whispered, "No, no, no, no," over and over like a broken record. Dad turned back to the house, only it wasn't behind us anymore, just gone. We tried walking. 10 minutes, 20, an hour. Sun overhead, no shade, no cars, no people. Evan was crying so hard he could barely breathe. My phone screen kept flickering on by itself, but instead of apps, it only showed one word: stay. Finally, we saw something on the horizon, a shape, a building. We all ran toward it, desperate. It was the Airbnb. Same beige stucco, same murky pool, same dusty fake plants in the window, waiting for us like it knew we'd come back. Dad completely lost it. He threw his suitcase at the door and screamed like a wild animal. Mom covered Evan's ears. I couldn't even cry. Then the door opened by itself. The AC rattled inside, and from the living room we heard voices again. This time not muffled, clear. It was us. I swear to God, it was our voices, laughing, talking, the exact conversation we'd had the first night when Mom lit the lavender candle and Dad cracked open the trail mix. We all froze. Evan whispered, "We're already in there." And sure enough, through the living room window, I saw them. Us, sitting on the couch, smiling, drinking the Arizona iced tea.
We didn't go back inside. None of us could move. We just stood there in the scorching heat, staring through the Airbnb window at ourselves. It was too perfect. Mom was laughing at something Dad said. Evan was sitting cross-legged on the carpet, building a Lego set we didn't even pack. I was scrolling on my phone, earbuds in. Everything casual, normal, happy. But their eyes, our eyes, were wrong. Just a little too dark, like there wasn't anything behind them. Dad muttered, "This is some kind of trick." He grabbed a rock from the ground and hurled it at the window. It should have shattered. Instead, the glass rippled like he'd thrown it into water. The rock disappeared through, and other Dad looked up and smiled. That was it for me. I screamed. Mom pulled Evan tight, whispering prayers into his hair. Then the front door creaked open again. The AC rattled, blowing out that faint cigarette smell. And from inside, the other version of me said, clear as a bell, "Come home." I swear I felt it, like something tugged at my chest, pulling me toward the doorway. My legs actually started moving before Mom yanked me back. Her nails dug into my arm, grounding me. Dad charged forward, like he could fight it, like sheer force would break whatever this was. But the second his foot crossed the threshold, he was gone. Just gone. No sound, no flash. 1 second he was there, the next he wasn't. Inside, other Dad sat back down on the couch, grinning wider. Mom screamed his name until her voice cracked. Evan wouldn't stop sobbing. I just kept staring at the doorway, half expecting Dad to step back out. He didn't. We ran, again, out into the desert again. But it didn't matter. Every path, every road, every horizon, it all loops back to that damned Airbnb. Sometimes it's daylight, sometimes night. Sometimes the house is waiting in silence. Sometimes our doubles are inside, smiling. It's been days, I think. Time doesn't make sense anymore. Phones won't hold charge, but somehow those Arizona cans are always there. 4 of them, full, ice cold. I don't know if anyone will ever read this. Maybe the Wi-Fi here is fake too. Maybe I'm just typing into nothing.
But if you see a listing in Phoenix, beige walls, fake plants, desert oasis pool, don't book it. Don't even click it, because it's waiting. And if you hear your own voice inviting you inside, don't answer.